Hello and welcome to Senior Beat. Today we have with us Michelle Dempsey and we're going to discuss Connecticut Home Care Program for Elders. Hello Michelle.
Hi,
Thanks
Cindy.
for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I know this is a huge topic, but can we get right into it?
Sure.
Well, first of all, actually I do have a first question. When you were a little girl, you probably weren't like, one day I want to be a Title 19 specialist.
No.
How did you end up having this as your career?
I had a friend who knew an elder law attorney who was looking for a paralegal, and he was
Awesome.
willing to train them, and it was specifically to do Title 19 applications.
Okay.
And that's how I started, and I worked for him for 7.5 years before I set up my own business in 2011.
Awesome. I'm sure that was quite the workload too.
It was.
Oh, wow. Okay, so let's get right into it. What is Title 19?
Title 19 is also known as Medicaid, or in the state of Connecticut, Husky.
Yep.
And most people know it for low-income adult health insurance. However, it also provides long-term care services and home care services for the elderly and disabled. So those are the two programs that I work on the most. Both the home care and nursing home level applications, but we're going to be discussing the home care today.
Yeah, and so what can the home care program do for the elders?
It can provide companion services, it can provide personal care assistance, nursing services, someone to come in and help with cleaning. So there's a host of different services that are available. It depends on the elder's particular needs.
Okay. And how do you determine who qualifies for this?
Well, there's two parts. There's a functional need level and a financial need level.
Okay.
The functional need level, you have to need assistance with at least 2 activities of daily living.
Okay.
And that's for the state-funded home care program. And those activities of daily living can include eating, dressing, walking or transferring from one place to another,
Okay.
personal hygiene and bathing, toileting and continence.
Okay.
So you have to have deficits in at least 2 of those areas or need high supervision because of a dementia-related disorder.
Okay. And that's kind of at the forefront of a lot of people's minds recently.
Yes.
Okay, so 2 of those you have to be deficient in, or
High supervision needs because
Okay.
of a dementia-related disorder.
okay. And then
And
you also
for
said
The Medicaid level,
Yep.
it's 3 activities of daily living that you need to have assistance with.
Okay, 3. And what would those be? Any of those 3?
Any
in
of
the same
those
list?
3 that in the same list.
Okay.
So it's more assistance is available on the Medicaid level than the state funded. And so there's a higher need level.
Oh, okay. So what's the, if somebody was going to call up, we get a lot of calls at the senior center. How do I find out about this? What do I do? The process alone for just even getting eligibility. What's the eligibility process?
Well, the financial eligibility requirements are that for the state funded level, that you be under $37,926 in assets
Okay.
if you are single.
Okay.
For a married couple, it's $50,568, and that
Okay.
excludes one vehicle and your home.
Oh, okay. So one vehicle is not counted.
One
nor the
vehicle
home.
is not counted, and neither is your home.
Okay, so that's really important for the audience to know. Okay.
Exactly. So having a home does not immediately disqualify you.
Okay, and I think a lot of people think that is the way it is, so that's great to know. Okay.
The other requirement is if you're on the Medicaid level, it's much stricter in terms of assets. If you are single, it's $1,600 in assets.
Okay.
And for a married couple, it's $25,284.
Wow.
Plus that single person $1,600, so it's a total of $26,884.
Okay, versus the Connecticut
Home care program for elders, the state funded, is $50,568.
Okay.
And there is a way to increase that amount.
Okay.
However, it's a little complicated.
Oh, of course it is.
I recommend that you apply well in advance of actually needing to bring in the assistance and being
Right.
financially eligible. If you are married, to
Correct.
establish that spousal assessment date that they determine how much you're able to keep.
Okay.
And that spousal assessment date, they take a picture of your assets on that date, and they say you can have one half of those assets up to a maximum of $126,420.
Now the date you're referring to is
Is the date that you apply
the
for
date
the
you apply.
program,
Okay.
or the date that you were either in a nursing home or hospital and out of the home for 30 consecutive days.
30 consecutive.
Yes.
Okay.
So it could have been 3 days in the hospital and 27 days in the nursing home.
But 30 days out of the
But 30
home.
days out of the home, and it
Okay.
has to be consecutive.
Okay. So, wow, that's a lot. So,
As I said, it
Yeah.
gets complicated if you want to keep more than the minimum.
right. But you can get more.
But you can get more, and there's a spousal assessment process that you can go through in order to determine exactly how much you're able to keep and when to reapply to the program.
Okay. And so reapplying, do you have to reapply annually?
No.
Okay.
You need to reapply when you're getting closer to financial eligibility.
Okay.
And you pick up the application where you left off with the spousal assessment application.
Oh, okay.
So if you applied last year and now you're finally financially eligible, you would be able to just provide the bank statements and financial documentation for that 1 year.
Okay. So, talking about documentation, this is something
Yes.
we chatted before. So, can we just talk about this for a second? The look back is 5 years.
The look back is 5 years.
And can you talk about that for a little?
Yes. They look at all of your accounts that you may have had within that 5-year look back period. And they are looking specifically for accounts that you may not have disclosed,
Okay.
that have been either closed in that period or that you forgot about.
Yep, that happens.
And they're making sure that you're actually financially eligible when you say you're financially eligible. They're also looking for large transactions that may have been gifts. And gifts are
Yeah.
harshly penalized under Title 19 requirements. And basically they say, we're going to penalize you for these gifts, but we're not going to start that penalty until you actually apply and are financially eligible for the program.
Oof.
So you have to be almost out of money and then
Right.
apply and get the penalty period and then find a way to be able to bridge
Oh my
that
gosh.
time period. So even though people say, oh, well, you can give $15,000 away tax-free, under Title 19, you can't. So
It's
it's
still there.
tax-free, but it's still penalized under Medicaid rules.
Right. And it's still part of that 5-year look back. So, when we talk about gifts, gifts are monetary.
They can be houses. You've
Okay.
given your house away. You've given your car away because you can no longer drive.
Okay.
They can be monetary.
Okay.
They're not looking at small gifts. They're not looking at your $50 and $100
Okay.
gifts. They're looking for substantial $500 to $1,000 or more.
Okay.
And
So-
for home care applications, they look at every transaction $1,000 or more,
Okay.
although they can question any transaction that they would like.
Oh.
And so if they see a pattern happening, they may question that pattern.
Okay, so for example, say grandma and grandpa like to give towards their granddaughters who take quarterly dance lessons, and they give like $250 every quarter. Is that something?
It probably wouldn't show up,
Okay.
but $900 checks that
Yeah.
happen 2 or 3 times a month might.
Oh yeah. Okay. How about for gifts that are for those of the grandchildren that are going off to college? When it's for
It's hard. It's weighed on a case-by-case basis.
okay.
And you really have to justify why you made that gift, that you were not in financial need at the time you made the gift, and that you were not sick at the time that you made the gift.
Okay.
So if you've had a diagnosis of cancer and suddenly gave away
$900,
it's going to be looked at more harshly than if you gave it away 2 years ago.
Really? Okay. And how do you keep track of this? How, if somebody was going to grant their granddaughter, again, we'll say $900, do you make up your own paperwork on it, or how do you?
You would have to disclose it on the application.
Okay, but you don't have to have like a record of it?
No.
No check receipts at the home or?
No, the state's going to look and they're going to ask about every transaction $1,000 or more.
Okay.
And so you have to supply check stubs and things like that for every transaction $1,000 or more, and any deposits $1,000 or more.
Okay.
So you also have to supply information on any other transactions that they might have questions on.
Okay.
So a good rule of thumb is don't make gifts.
I know, which is sad.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
Or keep them very modest. If you're going to make a gift, make a substantial gift and get that 5-year clock running.
Okay.
So if you think that you are at an age where a nursing home or home care services are going to be needed within 5 years, that's usually a good sign. Don't make that gift.
Okay. Wow. Things that you never thought you'd have to think about.
No.
Okay.
I did want to mention there's also for the Medicaid level an income limit.
Okay.
And it is $2,313 in gross income.
Okay.
There is a way around it.
Per person?
For the person who is applying for services.
Okay.
So it's not the married couple's total income. It's the
for the
person who
one.
is actually in need of services income.
Okay.
So there is a way around that. It involves a pooled trust and you need to have an attorney involved.
Oh.
And it has to be an attorney that is on the list with a particular organization called Plan of Connecticut.
Okay.
It's a nonprofit organization that runs the pooled trust program.
Okay.
And they will give you a list of any attorney that is authorized to set up a pooled trust with their organization.
Well, that's good.
So, and I can also make referrals in the local area.
Okay, great. About how many are there locally?
Locally, I would say there's probably at least 5 or 6.
Okay.
I'm
Very
not
busy.
sure. The list changes from year to year, so I sometimes have to update it, but I'm aware of a couple in the area
Okay.
that are always on the list.
Good, good. So, with this said, say adult children are moving their parent here from another state. The 5-year rule still applies.
The 5-year rule still applies, so I generally recommend make sure that you get the financial statements for their bank, wherever they are moving from, first.
Okay.
And get it as far back as possible, up to 5 years, in
Okay.
case you need to apply for assistance in Connecticut for the home care program or for the nursing home program.
Okay.
It's much harder to go back to those banks that are out of state afterwards.
I bet.
So if you're able to do it, don't toss out mom's old bank statements, even if it's a CD that was closed 3 years ago.
Keep it.
You may need those CD records for the application.
Okay, and I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, some banks actually will charge you even though they're your own records.
Exactly. So sometimes it's best to get them online where you can. Also, once you start the Medicaid application and have proof that it's with the state of Connecticut and you bring that to your bank, many banks will waive the fees associated with supplying the requested records.
Okay, that's important to know.
That is important to know.
Thank you, I like that. Okay, so much good information. So we talked about the single person, the married person, and then how it has to be for the person that it is directly helping.
Yes.
Okay.
There's no income limit for the state-funded home care program.
Okay.
But there is an applied income, meaning that if
Okay.
you are over $2,082 in gross income, you may have to pay part of your income towards the cost of your services.
Okay.
And on the state-funded program, there's also a 9% copay. So that can run up to $300 and something per month.
Per month.
Yes.
Okay.
So on the state-funded home care program, you can get up to a maximum of $2,900 in assistance per month.
Okay.
And on the Medicaid level, up to $5,900 in
Really?
assistance per month.
And is that with all the extras?
It is.
Okay.
It also includes medical costs and other expenses on the Medicaid level.
Mm-hmm.
The Medicaid level is also transferable very easily from the home care setting to a nursing home.
Okay.
And it's only on that particular level.
Right. We talked about that yesterday. So,
Yes.
With all this,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about, the initial seeing if you're eligible. Once you're eligible, how long is that process then?
It can take 4 to 6 months for the Medicaid application on
Okay.
home care to go through. It depends on how prepared you are for the application in terms of having all those financial statements together
Okay.
and being able to provide other verifications such as copies of insurance cards and Medicare cards, Social Security
Everything.
cards, birth certificates, car registrations, house deeds.
Wow. So be organized.
Be organized and know what your assets are. Keep a list of the assets so that if a family member has to do the application on your behalf,
Right.
they know what banks you've been banking with. They
Yeah.
know what assets you've sold in the last 5 years. Whether it was a condo in Florida or a car 2 years ago when you opted not to drive any longer.
Right. Okay. I like how you said that, opted not to drive anymore. Okay, so once you have all that organized and whatnot, you go to the office, or what happens then?
The best way to start is with a phone call.
Okay.
You can do an online application, and
For those who are tech savvy.
For those who are tech savvy, but it's a long address, and it is available on the state of Connecticut's website.
Right.
You can Google CHCPE for the Connecticut Home Care Program for Elders,
Perfect.
and DSS and Connecticut, and it should pop up.
Okay.
And the phone number is 1-800-445-5394.
Yep.
And if you're making a referral to the program, you want to select option 4.
Okay. And now you say a referral, so you're
You're actually making a referral to the program and seeing whether you are eligible for the program.
okay.
In general, you have to be very close to being financially eligible for them to accept the referral.
Okay.
And that starts once they've gone through an initial screening interview. They will send someone out to do an in-home assessment if you pass the screening interview.
So the initial screening is on the phone.
Yes.
Okay. If you do it online, will they call you?
I don't know.
Okay.
I've never done the
Oh,
online
okay.
application. Most of my family members prefer to do it via phone.
Okay. Okay.
So
That's fine. So then once you do that, then you start to say, they
you
come
would do an in-home assessment.
Okay.
And they will come out and determine, based on your capabilities, what activities of daily living you might have deficits in, or if you've had a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or a dementia-related disorder,
Okay.
what your supervision needs are. How independent are you, and how much supervision do you really need in order to make sure that you're safe?
Okay.
Some people get an early diagnosis, they don't need as much supervision
Right.
as someone who is well advanced.
Right. And it moves faster in some and slower in others. It's, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they come out, and that's a several-hour process. It's a long, complicated system that they enter data into.
Okay.
And once they are done, if you meet the requirements, they will also assist you with the 20-page application.
20-page application. Okay.
The first 2 pages are instructions.
Okay, so 18-page application. Okay, so they will assist you. Does that mean that they will, for some people it's hard, filling out the paperwork. Will they actually sit with you and do the paperwork?
They will sit with you and do the paperwork.
Perfect.
If you have your financial documentation and other documentation copied and ready to go, that helps speed the process up.
Okay.
And I always recommend, if you're going to give something or send something to the state, make a copy of it for
Yes.
yourself. Don't be surprised when they ask for it a second time.
Okay. I'll leave that one alone. Okay. So being organized will really help the process.
Yes.
Be prepared for it to be possibly 3-4 hours.
Exactly.
Okay. What else do you suggest from your professional perspective with all of this? Just overview.
Overview, stay organized.
Okay.
It really is the biggest help to whoever is going to be assisting you with the application.
Okay.
The biggest tip that is sometimes overlooked is if you have a disabled child, and that
Oh, yes.
disabled child has to be considered disabled by Social Security.
Okay.
They can be 18, they can be 10, they can be 50. As
Okay.
long as they are considered disabled by Social Security, you can give everything you own to that person and qualify the next day for Medicaid.
Really?
Yes. It
Wow.
can also go into a third-party trust for the benefit of that disabled child.
Okay.
And you want to be careful not to disqualify them from programs they might be receiving assistance for.
Right. So because if you give the gift, then they might not be able to get what they have before.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's always good to get legal advice before you embark on transferring everything over.
Okay.
Just to make sure that you understand what the consequences are for both parties.
Right. The pros and cons of whichever move you're going to make. Who would they reach out to for such legal advice?
An elder
care?
law attorney.
Okay. I thought so.
Specifically, those that do estate planning but specialize in elder law.
Okay.
Because they're going to be familiar with this particular statute.
Yep.
They're going to be familiar with some of the government benefit programs that someone who is disabled might be qualified for
Right.
versus someone who is elderly.
Right.
And making sure that, yes, they do meet the requirements of Social Security,
Okay.
disability or disabled
And they'll be
individual.
up on the newest changes within the state. So,
Exactly.
okay. Okay.
So, and I do want to make it clear, I'm not an elder law attorney.
Right.
I was a Title 19 paralegal. I can refer you to an elder law attorney.
Okay. Awesome. So we have about 5 minutes left, and I want to discuss a couple more things. At one point, the 5-year look back did change. Was that 2009?
2006.
2006. Okay.
It was phased in
Okay.
over a 5-year period. So it was
Okay.
fully phased in by 2011.
Okay. So if anyone had applied then, with that ruling in effect, and it didn't go through, they should reapply, or do they have to? How does that affect them now?
It doesn't affect them now because
Okay.
the 5-year look back has
It's
been
just-
fully
Fully. Okay.
in place since 2011.
Okay.
And it just means that there's a longer look back period where they're looking at gifts
Okay.
and looking at assets.
Okay. And again, you said just to even apply sometimes can take 3 to 4 months.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's usually if you're organized and on top of things,
Okay.
It can take longer.
Okay. So keeping records, banking, gifts.
Keeping important documents
Yep.
all in a consolidated spot for your family members.
Okay.
Birth certificates, marriage certificates.
Okay.
Separation.
House
Or
deeds.
discharge papers.
Okay.
For the home care program, you may also have to apply for the VA aid and attendance program as
Oh.
well as part of your application.
What is that?
The VA aid and attendance program is a specialized program for veterans that served at least, I believe, 1 day during a
Yes,
wartime
it's 1
period.
day of a 90-day war period, I believe.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So it's a special program that provides additional assistance if your medical and home care expenses are exceeding your income.
Okay. And that they would talk to a VA office?
They would talk to the local VA office.
Okay.
I usually recommend, in this area, the Norwich office.
Okay. And we have that over at the senior center if you need that number, but you can find it online because I often give it out. I'm sorry I don't have it here today. We only have a couple minutes left, Michelle. I know we talked about a lot, so the key points are that Title 19 is Medicaid, is also the Husky program.
Yes.
And it's to benefit those who are in need of home care in the
Home
state of
care
Connecticut.
services.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We often have people move down here from Massachusetts or up here from another state. The other states probably vary a lot, or is it similar?
The home care programs are different in every state.
Okay.
They are considered waiver programs, and so each state is slightly different.
Okay.
So you definitely want to talk to someone in the state that you are moving to about the home care programs that are available. And the Connecticut Home Care Program for elders is specifically for those 65 and up.
Okay, and do you have to have been living in the state of Connecticut for a certain amount of time to qualify, or just you
No.
Now that is your residence?
Now it is your
Even day
residence.
one?
Even
Okay.
day one.
Okay, that's good. For those who think they might be moving their parent here, you know, say adult children, and they're like, well, should mom move in with you or move with us? Should they make those calls before deciding which state mom or dad is moving to?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
There is a specific number that I give, or web address that I give out to
Okay.
people who are in different states, and it's NAELA.org. It's the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys.
Okay, so-
so it's NAELA.org.
Okay.
And there is a button on there that says find an attorney.
Okay.
And you can enter a zip code and a distance around that zip code and determine who are members of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys within that area.
Oh, that's excellent. Okay.
So, and that's nationwide.
Okay, perfect. I think we've covered as much as we can in such a short time. Really appreciate you being here. I hope that the audience today got a lot out of it, because we do Senior Beat so that we can provide this type of info to you. Again, to do the Connecticut Connecticut Home Care Program for Elders, you can do it online if you're tech savvy, but we recommend you try the phone number first and get the process started when you think you're financially eligible.
Yes. And if you're married and you're applying for the Medicaid level program, apply well in advance of being financially eligible.
Okay.
You still have to have the need level, the functional need level, but apply before you're financially eligible so that you can establish that spousal assessment date, especially if you've got a degenerative disease that may not result in a hospitalization nursing home stay, the way a
Okay.
stroke or a heart attack would.
Okay, great. Kind of a deep conversation to have today, but I really
Yes.
appreciate you being here. So much information, highly important, and I thank you, Michelle.
Thank you
And
for
thank
having
you.
me.
Oh, you're so welcome. And thank you all for tuning in today to Senior Beat, and hope to see you all soon.